Hi, and welcome to today's episode. Now, today's guest is Andrea, a distinguished service management expert with over 75 conference presentations and an impressive global consulting record. Now, she specializes in enterprise service management and customer experience and now drives strategic alliances as the ServiceNow Alliances Director at Capgemini UK. So a huge welcome to you, Andrea. Thanks for coming on today to the show.
Thank you so much, Farrah. I'm delighted. I keep listening to your shows and I have to say I feel honored. So thanks for thinking about me to be guest on your show.
Oh, do you know what? Honestly, like the honor is all mine. Like it's so exciting to have you on. And I know we were kind of just talking off air as well about your role, you know, being ServiceNow Alliances Director. And I was just asking you like what you do on a day-to-day basis. And I just think it's so interesting. So if you don't mind, would you be happy enough to share with the audience just a little bit about what your role entails so it encourages other people if that's the route they want to go down in their careers?
I would love to. It's a role I absolutely love. You mentioned in the intro and very kindly calling out my consulting experience and expertise, but what I enjoy in this role is very, very much a people-centric, people-orientated role. It's all about relationships. ServiceNow is one of our key strategic partners here at Capgemini UK, and as such, and plus because we are elite partners, we have a dedicated attention to this partner. So that means that myself as a partner manager, I need to know a lot about the product, but I don't need to become a product implementation specialist or a product solution architect. But I love learning about it. Like I go absolutely mad about the agentic AI, and the new AI agents on the ServiceNow platform are so amazing. I'm a massive fan, as you can tell. And learning about the product is one part of my role, which I really, really enjoy because I do a lot of client conversations. So I join my team. I have a fantastic team of colleagues who are very experts in various domains. And I join them in client conversations, strategic consulting, which basically means just listening to your client, finding out what is it that they would like to do, what is their dream, their vision, or what is their pain point, and how potentially ServiceNow as a platform can enable and support them. Also, what other connected consulting expertise will need to be part of this conversation. And the people element is I have to connect, and not that it's a chore, because I love connecting with people from all across Capgemini, from all of our different business lines and sector teams. But I am also connecting with a lot of people from the client side, from ServiceNow, meeting with fantastic experts who are different product teams, solution consultants from ServiceNow. I have a fabulous partner manager, Helen, with whom I work regularly. She's basically my partner in crime without committing crime. She's dedicated to look after Capgemini UK. And I just love being in a role where I feel that I'm adding value. I'm contributing, I'm inspiring, and I'm adding how to say this, little bugs into people's ears and minds where they go, I never realized I could potentially do that. I never thought that could be a potential. And I get so much energy and joy out seeing people having these little aha moments and then going forward. So yeah, it's a fantastic role. And I always call out, it also has the serious part. Being partners with ServiceNow means that you have to be compliant. You have to be compliant various processes, various commitments regarding, different KPIs on your license revenue, on registering opportunities that you identify, how do you engage, what's the best route, what's your governance. So it does have its serious and also its slightly boring admin side of it, which I hope one day an AI agent can take for me. But the biggest part is the selling, the strategic consulting, and which is so people-centric. So I absolutely love it.
Yeah, I love that. I think it's such an interesting role, particularly like, if somebody, has that kind of personality, right? If you are built that way, that you want to engage with people and you enjoy it, you know, I think that's a role that you would really, really love. And yeah, I find it really interesting as well. So how, you know, it'd be really good to understand like how you first got into ServiceNow. Like how did you make that journey, you know, and be in the position that you are in today?
Oh, goodness me. So to roll back time, 20 plus years now, I ended up in IT technology consulting or in the whole technology world in almost like in an accident. I needed a job while I was doing my primary dream postgraduate role of being a journalist. I applied and got accepted to work on a multilingual IT service desk. And first, for me, it was like my second job. And then it became my first job. And when you work on a service desk, even 20 plus years ago, the foundations of strong service management using a tool, we used to call it back then like a ticketing tool or a technology solution where you can record interactions with the customers for the fixes. It wasn't ServiceNow yet. I used all kinds of different other tooling and technology. And then around 2011, I think was the first time when started to pay attention to ServiceNow. They were on the market as a good competitor for ITSM to some of the existing other brands. And I was working in a service delivery role before I became a consultant. And I started to investigate what can ServiceNow do that other brands may not be able to do. Um, I used to be a service delivery manager where I was already looking, and this is how my journey of the whole enterprise service management topic happened. What we can do, how we can apply the same good service management best practices outside IT in other parts of the enterprise and the organization, in HR, in legal, in facility services. And ServiceNow, for me, was one of the first one on the market who recognized that requirement. So I became first a user of ServiceNow, the technology. Then I joined consulting, where I also become a consultant who were advising customers on what ServiceNow is and how they can use it, advising them how ServiceNow can enable them to achieve what they want to do, different transformations in service management. And then it started growing. So we started to talk more on go beyond IT into the enterprise, and then ServiceNow started to release their capabilities. And as my consulting role started to be more and more linked up with ServiceNow related topics for what the customers, and I work with some fascinating customers all over the world, from the Middle East to the US in all different locations. It started to become more and more complex and interesting of what you can do with this platform. Fast forward to today, it's not just about being a user of the platform internally, where we use it at Capgemini, an advisor, but also a learner, somebody who studies it and enjoys it, and the potential is endless. So the journey I would recommend to all who is interested or been involved in service management and ServiceNow. There are many different pathways. There are many different journeys to get to where I am. But if that's the road you want to take, it can take you to the same role.
Yeah, no, that's amazing. So what a journey, like so exciting. So yeah, no, it's amazing. And you know, like in terms of like your role, because it is so people centric, you know, because it is you know, communication is such an important part of your job, and engaging with people and you know, making sure that they engage with you as well. In terms of like mindset and attitude, like how does that, you know, what kind of mindset do you feel that you need to be successful in your current role, do you think?
I think you have to have a bit of an entrepreneurial spirit. You have to feel you need to be curious. You need to feel that what else and how else can I do things. You also have to do away with any of learned assumptions or understandings. It's about never making an assumption, but going into any situation with a very open mind. I never go and start speak with a client to say, oh, you should have done X, Y, Z. Why haven't you done it? It's about understanding why and what is happening and why are they where they are and what is making them comfortable, what's working extremely well for them. So curiosity is very important. being able to, I used to say it almost like when I was a consultant, to be able to be a bit of a chameleon. Imagine yourself as being part of your customer side, of the customer's team or your partner team, to understand how they are, what is their culture, what is their ways of working, what kicks, makes them tick, what makes them excited, what makes them annoyed, um, and then be able to take that forward by being courageous to challenge, certain opinions or beliefs and mindsets without, like upsetting people. So a lot of that, like you said, communication skills. But one of the things I also had to learn, and those who know me, that I'm a speaker. I love speaking. But it's about how do you take in information as well? How do you listen to what people say? And how do you listen by really taking in and understanding what they say without assuming what is it that they mean? Um, and then I mentioned about being courageous by being having the courage to challenge back. But you also have to be courageous enough to put your own ideas forward without being worried that what if they think it's a wild, weird idea, or having the courage to start sharing your point of view, in case that's also a point of view that could be of interest. So curiosity, engagement, never making assumptions, and being courageous to challenge, being courageous to share your ideas and to speak up.
Oh, that's fantastic. You know what? That's such good advice because, I think that's the thing. Sometimes people, being courageous is sometimes they think, oh, should I really say that? Because, that what it's been happening for the last 10 years exactly like that. But you're absolutely right. To be able to progress, it's about being curious, asking questions, and having the courage to kind of give good advice, but like exactly like what you say, try to do it in a manner that's not going to upset because then the communication breaks
Exactly.
down, right? So yeah.
And I always encourage those who are more junior, colleagues, to never feel that their opinion is discouraged, never feel that their experience or expertise is not enough. We need, and this is why the word can be a good place, despite of what sometimes we like to believe that it's not a good place, is being able to take in a fresh mindset of a fresh generation. I don't consider myself old, but I am of a generation where when I started my career in IT and in technology areas, I had to, in the beginning, just put up with sexist remarks, put up with being turned down for something that, a male colleague may have gotten, because this is how the world was. Even if you wanted to speak up, even if you had the courage, and I had the courage, it was frowned upon, Then fast forward to today, and I observe on younger, girls in our team, and then I don't say girls in a discouraging way, but like younger female colleagues, and they don't put up with that. They would never put up with it, and I admire their courage and I admire their confidence because they know that this is not okay, and that is a type of a mindset that we need, or seeing the world differently, because those who've been born, let's say in the 2000s, they are in the workforce today, right? And they're them growing up with a technology that was new for us, but it's very natural for them. They bring in a very different attitude, an attitude to how we look after the environment. So I think it's extremely important that we don't discount anybody's opinion, but really, and again, that goes back to the assumptions. There's too much about labeling your Gen Z, Gen X, Gen whatever, Gen Boomer. No, every single person's then and their opinion, like it just counts and matters a lot. So yeah, that's very
Yeah,
important.
I think that's amazing, and it's like if you think like that, it's like the work culture that you're building as well. It's very inclusive and it brings out the best in people, right? So people are motivated and they want to sort of do their best. So yeah, I think that's so incredible. It's fantastic. And just kind of like we were talking about, where you started your career, and were there any like mentors that you had, that people that you looked up to, that kind of really inspired you and led you to where you are today?
Yes, I never forget it. I was still in my early 20s, and I met a CIO lady, and she was the first CIO, woman CIO I ever met in my life. And because it was that rare, not because I
Yeah,
had no
no.
option to meet with, I met with so many CIOs due to my role and jobs and everything I was doing, but she was the first female CIO. And what impressed me is that she was so strong, and I never forget it. Before we went on a meeting with her, my colleagues and mainly men told us, "Oh, she's hardcore, she's scary. We have to be very prepared for the meeting and this like that." And I thought, and when we met her, I thought she's confident. She really knows her stuff. She really understands the topic she's talking about. She's not afraid to ask questions. She was somebody that you could tell her team admired her, did not fear her, admire her. And I never forget that, how the interpretation of her confidence, the interpretation of her not taking like any badness, or don't want to say the bad words here on live on the
Yeah,
podcast
yeah.
from anybody, right? It was extremely inspiring, and I kept in touch and followed her journey, and she was definitely somebody who I always looked up to, because an extremely wise, smart, confident woman. Um, Another one, and then again it's mixed, who again I now my colleague here at Capgemini, and she works in a very similar role, although global one like myself. She was one of my first line manager in consulting, and once again history repeats itself. The introduction when we first met was, "Oh, she's two strong women. You're probably going to hate each other." Type of. That's how one of our like managers introduced us. And all I could think about it, oh my God, she is not afraid to have her opinion heard. She's unapologetically confident because she knows what she's talking about. And I've seen how much respect she got from clients, from customers, from other colleagues. And they were the ones that I thought, well, I want to be like them. I want to become somebody who is unapologetically confident, not afraid of, if I am convinced about something I know, not afraid to showcase that, not force shying away from saying, yeah, I'm confidently know I have a certain knowledge and therefore I'm happy to share it. But also, what I also liked in both of them, that they stayed true to themselves. There was no fakery around the personality. They were through and through women. I love the fact that neither of them tried to become a man by dressing as a man, to fit in with the environment. And that was another thing for me, which made me think I want to keep my personality. If I want to go in my pink and royal blue Adidas trainers, it shouldn't be the judgment on why I'm not wearing like power stiletto heels versus an Adidas trainer. It's about who are you as a person, what's your overall personality, your style, your confidence, and just be unapologetically you. That's
Yeah.
the best advice I can give to anybody.
Yeah, and that's incredible. And that's all like equality, isn't it? It's about, it doesn't matter if you're a man, a woman, which race you're from, which country you're from. It doesn't matter. What's important is how you are as a person and how you carry yourself as well. And you're so right. There are those kind of stereotypes, maybe, like you say, not so much now, but I started my sort of work journey when I was 21, which was back in 2001, right? So you know, so
But at the
everyone can
same time,
calculate my age. So, you know, and yeah, it was right. It was, I remember there was a female director and everyone was like, oh, be careful. She's really scary. Like, oh God. And, you know, you know, don't like, you know, don't do anything to attract attention that you'll annoy her that, you know, and I was like, oh my God, like, who is this woman? Like, you know, and then we spoke once, and I was like, "Oh my God, she's actually really nice," and she actually helped me, and it was just a really strange thing. Like all the men were like, "Oh, really fearful of her," and it was just because you know she was in a very senior position, but she was the same thing. She was strong, as in she didn't talk to anybody as in like you know I have to know my place, you know, I
yeah,
shouldn't say that, you know, and it was she was just like, look, I'm running a business here, and yeah, and I was just like I was really wowed by her as well. So yeah, I think it's great, and you know it's true, you know, it's like we've had to go through that for, you know, hopefully the new generation to take it even further. So yeah, no, it's
exactly.
amazing. That's brilliant. So, you know, I was going to ask you, right? So, in terms of like new people joining like ServiceNow, they want to get into the industry. Like, do you recommend ServiceNow certifications as a starting point for anybody who's looking to learn, or even those that are already in the ecosystem and they want to advance their careers? Do you think it's something that's important and quite powerful?
It is absolutely because, and you probably know that yourself due to the nature of of your business, but um, skills, ServiceNow skills are very, very, very sought after on the market globally, not just in the UK, not just in continental Europe, everywhere. And and what ServiceNow does really well, they have very, very good certification and learning pathways. So anyone could find the most suitable for themselves. You know, you may want to pursue a role similar to mine, which is more in the consulting side without becoming an implementation specialist. Then I would recommend that that person gets looks at the certifications available for sales and pre-sales related topics. Again, and here's the beauty of it: it's not, it does not mean a sales or pre-sales certification that you have to be frontline seller. It gives you the opportunity and the knowledge to confidently be able to speak about the product, about the platform, the different areas of the platform, to be able to mix it with your existing skill sets and be able to become that strategic advisor. Naturally, for those who are more technically inclined, I would definitely recommend to investigate and do certifications, the mainline certifications on a certified implementation specialist, solution architects, master architects. It's a fantastic career opportunity. B, it's a skill that will always guarantee you a secure job. And let's not forget, people work because they want to feel secure in the job, but also want to earn good money. And ServiceNow skills are definitely the type of the skills that will provide you with better than average and higher earnings. So my advice would be investigate the different learning pathways, understand what kind of learning pathways are out there, what certifications are linked to it. And even better, it has been recently announced by ServiceNow that they put their full learning portfolio online for free. So I thought it was one of the bestest thing I have seen a partner organization do. They already have the Rise Up program, which is encouraging people to get into ServiceNow from a completely non-ServiceNow technology related career path. And now you have opportunities to be able to access ServiceNow learning for free. Not the certifications, not the certifications naturally, because you know, we have to be mindful the difference between learning and being able to do free courses versus actually doing the certification. But I think it's fabulous, and the opportunity is out there for anyone who is interested in this.
That's so good. That's amazing. And you know, for how do you keep up to date? Like how do you sort of personally, because you know it's so rapidly evolving, you know, service now. How do you sort of keep up to date yourself?
So It goes back to my insatiable curiosity, right? I follow podcasts, I follow different news published, I follow partner news, I follow people in the industry and different leaders, thought leaders, people who always have something interesting to say. I also read different magazines like Forbes magazine and all the others. But I also try and attend as many in-person events as possible. So I follow the diary to understand what partner events are out there, what are the difficult events that you can attend. I also, because Capgemini is always a large sponsor of the annual knowledge conference, which is the annual customer conference, so that's something I attend. But if somebody doesn't have the opportunity to travel to the US for the big annual conference, or if somebody lives in any part of the UK where they may find it difficult to travel to an in-person event, investigate what's available online. There will be always recording. All the keynotes, for example, from the big events are published on YouTube. You can follow it up. So the opportunity is just there. Be curious, look at it, look it up, research it, speak with people, speak with peers, follow a few thought leaders. There are a couple of people from ServiceNow I regularly follow, the chief innovation officers. I always find that there's always something exciting and interesting they speak about that makes me think, oh, I haven't thought about it. Like the other day, I was reading about smart cities in ServiceNow. Smart cities is a topic I love, and I'm very interested in it on a personal level. I thought, oh my good God, let me read more about it. And I ended up just researching more to find out what's out there and what are we talking about when we mention that topic.
Yeah, no, that's great. And the chief innovation, officer, he is like it is great to follow. So yeah, no, it's amazing. So, oh, wonderful. And like obviously in your role, just to kind of avoid burnout or stress, like what strategies do you kind of have to avoid those situations?
Well, a few years ago, I have to be honest, I did not pay attention and I did reach peak burnout. I didn't notice I reached peak burnout until I was already there. And I made myself a promise that I will be more mindful to understand and really be very strict with my work life balance. So the way I avoid burnout is I set down rules that I stick to. I always take breaks. And even if I have the busiest diary ever, or the busiest, sometimes my calendar looks like a failed Tetris, blocks all over each other, meetings, double, triple, quadruple meetings over each other. But the time I book for to go to the gym in the morning, the time I book for my lunch halfway through the day is always in my diary. Nothing can shift it because that is my time and I need that time. On a Friday evening, unless in very, very special, exceptional circumstances, I make sure that I completely switch off. I don't look at work emails. I don't look at work messages. I don't look at work WhatsApp. I don't do anything work related. A very exceptional circumstance could be when you have such an urgent deadline, a very, very specific exceptional case. Then I make sure that I will find the opportunity to take the time back to ensure that I balance it back. The other thing I do is I just really pay attention to uh, say no as well as much as I say yes. So I love being involved with many different things, but I also had to teach myself to occasionally just say, no, I'm happy to let others get on with things. I trust them. And that's the biggest thing, to let go of control, trust others, and then check back in. So it's not that you have to do everything personally, you have to be involved with everything personally. You can always just be, and the way I best describe it is as you could just like, slide into a nice room and say, how is everybody doing? You get the information, slide back out, go and have your coffee, and not worry that you must be present or you're going to miss out or things don't go how you want it. So for me, this keeping the balance, making sure that I don't follow that old school attitude of, if there are no, if I can't finish my work in 8 hours, I will do 10, 12, 24, whatever hours. No, I said to myself, I am making sure that I'm efficient enough that I will finish as much as I can within a given time slot in a day. And I'm not just going to sit for hours and hours and hours beyond. Um, my job does not entail saving people's lives. Therefore, nothing is as urgent as to put myself to the brink of burnout. If I was a ER nurse or working in a very highly, I would say, like in an environment where people's lives depend on my instant decision of not putting down my phone now or in 5 minutes, I would without hesitation, of course, do it. But in this situation, I want to make sure that I am, and I will continue to be quite strict on when it comes to managing the workload and managing what do I do and how much I do.
Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of blocking out your calendar, and then that way people can't block in meetings or block in other stuff.
They
And
try.
yeah,
They try.
I can probably imagine. So, but I do like that, and and I think that's the thing. It's about having those boundaries and being strict with yourself, and not to kind of give in and go, oh, it's okay. I'll just eat my lunch while we're having this meeting, or but yeah, it's having that balance of having that openness so people can come to you, but then at the same time protecting yourself. Because I remember we all did it, right? We always used to work till 7, 8, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and then not think anything of it. It's like, oh, this is my job. Whereas I think now it's like a lot more accepted that, look, it's okay to have that balance, and I think it's really important. So
I remember I was still working as a management consultant, and I had to drive to a client's office, and then the manager I was reporting to said to me, Andrea, we must arrive before the client and we must leave after the client. And I always question this. What if my client is the most inefficient person in the planet? What if my client is somebody who just practically lives in the office? What if my client, has one of those days when they need to be there for a very long time for whatever reason? How can we judge that?
yeah.
Um, and I ended up basically asking my client and, saying to them, listen, I have a bit of a drive. I normally like going to the gym in the morning. Due to the drive and the early start of, we had like a 8:30 meeting, very, very early start of the day. And I said to the client, would it be all right if then, yes, I don't mind driving early, coming in for the 8:30 meeting. Can I leave a little bit earlier so then I can reach the traffic and still go to the gym and still be able to have dinner and, not just fall into bed at 10 o'clock. And he said, yeah, of course, I do like going to the gym in the morning too. And that 8:30 meeting is also not convenient for me. The client made the assumption that it's a meeting convenient for us consultant. We made the assumption that this meeting is because the client expects a meeting at 8:30. And it was just simply asking the question, having a conversation, and realizing that having the right work-life balance was as important for him as it was for me. And we had one of the most nicest relationship and most balanced, like work day as a result. So
Yeah.
I always encourage people, don't just accept what is enforced on you, but ask why and find out if there is a better solution that is more suitable. But don't just give in. Don't just
Yeah.
give in and you end up being burnt out or end up feeling disappointed.
Yeah, no, I love that. It's because you talk to him on a personal level, and you communicated, and I think that's when we talk about having good communication skills, that is a skill in itself, to be able to have those kind of conversations, and then I think then that probably brought you so close together that it made the working relationship so nice as well. And yeah, we're all human. We've all, so many of us have got children, so many of us got pets, so many of us go to the gym and do other things and have other hobbies, and it's not just all about, like, working, you know, and it's about having
Exactly.
that commonality as well. So yeah, no, that's amazing. So yeah, brilliant. So look, my final question, okay, if you could go back in a time machine and talk to your 21-year-old self, what advice would you give her?
Oh my goodness me, that's an interesting one. Um, I wonder if I would advise my 21-year-old self to not just settle traveling as far as the UK from Hungary, but travel even further. I always wanted to, live and work in even larger cities. Like New York was one of my, number one goals. I think the advice I would give would be twofold. One is don't settle because you feel that this is safe right now where you are, and second, just be unapologetic. Don't let anybody, because for years and years and years, I listened back to you're too energetic, you have too much passion. And I would say to my 21-year-old self, do not let anybody question how much energy and how much passion you have, but embrace it. Embrace it and go with it.
Mm.
And I think where I am now, and one of the many reasons of why I love working for Capgemini is that here, nobody says to me, you have too much energy or too much passion. Here, everybody says to me, we love how much energy and how much passion you have. And that's a very different narrative.
Oh, that's amazing. I love that. So, look, I just want to say a huge, huge thank you to you, Andrea. It's been absolutely amazing to have you on as a guest, and, you know, just such inspiring words that, you know, you've said. And, you know, I think it's wonderful. So, look, a huge thank you. And yeah, I wish you all the very best. So,
Thank you for having me. It was a delight. Thanks, Farah.
oh, thank you so much then.